I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, which all we have been talking about, and that is, why are meetings so unsuccessful? And when I'm talking about meetings, developers, they're really there to solve problems. And what they see is that we have a situation, and I can't solve that on my own. So we're going to have a meeting, and after that meeting, I am better informed or have made these decisions. But in so many meetings, tend to be in this way instead. We are in a situation, we go to the meeting, and we go out from the meeting, and we are still in the same situation. They can still not solve the problem. Or even worse, that you are in a situation, you go into the meeting, and you're in a worse situation, you know less. And the problem here might be that it seems like some people don't really want to move forward. I mean, some things are complex. I'm just moving out from a project. We're going to build a system for a transaction account. And what we realized quite early was it wasn't a system, there were no transactions, and there was no account. But still, you can't really move forward. So why is this? And I don't like the pandemic, of course, but I actually heard that some felt that one good thing about the pandemic was that you could be in the meetings remotely and still continue working while being in the meeting. And that is kind of sad. And another aspect of these meetings which are not useful is that if you have a 2-hour meeting with 20 people during a year, that is the same amount of time it would take for a person to walk from Stockholm to Calcutta. And besides that being super dangerous and perhaps a little bit fun, it's perhaps not the best usage of our time. So then I got started thinking, why is this? I was planning to just complain about these boring meetings, but why is it that in some meetings you seem to have people who don't really want to solve the problem, they don't want to come to a decision? And an example is from many years back. I was building a system where we're going to have work orders for handymans, and instead of them going into the office in the morning and picking it up and going out and do their work, we can still do this in a mobile phone. And this was in 2005, so it was kind of early tech in those years. And we have 2 groups involved, and that was the handyman. And we were really worried that they didn't like to be surveilled and use the new technology. And we have the office people who we felt that this was kind of useful for them. They didn't have to point out all the work and the guys going in all the mornings. So, I mean, but really, this was a good thing for both these groups. But what tends to happen in all these projects is that we have these meetings where we seem to move forward, but then we just move backwards. And finally, we had this meeting, and they will go ahead. And that was probably because finally someone said, I'm giving up on this. I'm just going to go decide, and this is how it's going to be. So we really didn't solve the problems during these meetings, but finally that someone just made the decision. So why is it that meetings don't bring us forward? What are the tendencies? And I stumbled upon something called field theory, and this is kind of complex, and I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce the name of this guy who formulated this theory. But the thing is, can this be useful for us to understand? And what is field theory? And if you go to Wikipedia, you get a really complex academic description, and that probably doesn't make sense. And since most of my English speaking is from the world of sports, as a sports mom, I'm going to use soccer. Not that my son is playing soccer, but most of you probably have seen this sport in some way. And the field theory is that everything you do is on some kind of field where you have different actors. And these actors have their goals, and they have their tools, and they have their space. What are they available to do? And we have the rules for this field to act upon. And if you look at the game of soccer from a simple way, it's kind of easy. You have one person with the ball, and he wants to score on the other side. And you have another team. They don't want the guys to make the score. They want to take the ball from them and make the goal on the other side. But is it that simple, that this is the goals and these are the rules? What if they are not equal in this sense. It could be that one of these have Zlatan on their team and they're really, really good. And perhaps the person with the ball has been betting against his own team. We don't really know that. And it could also be that some of the teams, they're not really interested in winning the game. They're just in it for one of the guys on the other side, just want to hurt him or whatever. We don't really know the motivations for different people. And what happens is that if someone doesn't really feel that I have something to gain, they can do things which are outside the rules. So we also have that some people also have different tools to work with. So we have other players on the field in some cases. But also, if you look at a sports game, it's not just the guys on the field. You can also see that there are other things affecting a game. You all know the difference if you're on the home field, that you have the audience with you. And it could also be that the whole surroundings around the arena is really important. But also that your field is just one field of many. It's also part of a bigger arena. And now I've probably lost all of you. But what is all this about? What is field theory? Well, the thing is that if you're trying to understand your situation, you need to understand your whole field. What is the field? What are actors we're working with? What are their agenda? And what strategies can they use to sustain their goals? And first, when you know that, you can start working on the arena, you can start understanding these people and make that change. So the first step is understanding your actors. And using field theory, there are two aspects you need to look upon when you have your actors. You have people who have power, and then you have people who are not powerful. Then you have those who follow the rules, and you have those who doesn't follow the rules. But this is not just a given from all time. The most common thing is that we all know that if you're powerful, you can follow the rules because the rules really apply to you. But what the worst thing can happen is that if you have someone who have power and they lose that power, they tend to stop following the rules, especially if they don't have any new tools to work with. So if you look back to my previous case with my caseworkers, how was it before we started the project? Well, we have the girls at the office. They got to decide which guy was going to do which project work. And the guys on the field, they didn't think that they could decide anything. They were just handed whatever this lady at the office was going to give them. And when they heard about this project, what the ladies thought that they were going to lose all their power, what they had a unique knowledge and power over, the guys understood, wow, now I don't have to go to her and make her happy and bring that extra coffee. And you had also the management team who thought that this was going to be the greatest thing, they're going to earn so much money. So this was what they thought. Often enough, we handed somewhere in the middle. So it wasn't really the right outcome from what they thought. But if you look at the women, the office ladies, they had nothing to gain. They were just going to lose power, perhaps their jobs. So why should they participate in these meetings and trying to make this change when they knew that they had nothing to gain from this change? So if you're in a situation when people are not really participating in meetings and trying to make things work, try to understand what could be their motivations and what strategies do they have. These women who couldn't really affect this, the only thing they could do was delay this change. And perhaps this sounds kind of sad that people who think that they have no power needs to act out in this way. So you might think that this is something I can't really do anything about. But this is also one of the negative things with field theory, is that doesn't provide really a solution for your problems. Perhaps it gives you a way to describe the problem you have in front of you. So I'm not going to give you any solutions, and that is also, I'm not an engineer, I'm not giving you any solutions, but rather some fancy word on how to describe it. So thank you.